Hey, hey, it's Thursday. This is show number 9 for us, you guys. Pretty soon, tomorrow, we'll be in double digits. I feel like we're getting somewhere now. Starting to settle into the routine, although this morning the routine was a little bit different. I will explain coming up, but I hope that you managed to navigate the hump day, and now you're headed downhill toward the weekend. Of course, we want to be productive. Of course, we want to use Thursday. And I got a long list, a to-do list always. It's a daily to-do list that I keep on my phone because I'm a list girl. My husband will tell you, my mom will tell you. Sometimes I put things on the list just so I can have the satisfaction of crossing it off the list, or when it comes to my phone, deleting it off the list. But it does remind me when I tend to forget if my brain's got a lot stuffed in there. So Thursday to-do list, I always feel like gives me a little more of a jolt because as I get those items and those tasks checked off the list, all right, well, end of the day, Friday is staring us in the face. So, yeah, a little more juice on a Thursday. By the end of the show, I can say to you, happy almost Friday. Although you know what Thursday means. Football. It's the start of the football weekend, preseason week number 1. And we've got plenty of QB news and actually a story coming out of college. And it intersects with the pros, but a story that just college that kind of reminds me of how much that space, college football, college sports have changed. And yeah, that's on the horizon too. And so we've got plenty to talk about, plenty to keep us busy. Really, really psyched to welcome today's guest. He is someone that you all know well if you've at any point over the past, say, 20 years, listened to my shows on CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Network, maybe on Sirius XM. I've even done some special stuff with my guest. His name is Jesse Bradley, and he is, well, he's a lot of things. He's a husband. He's a dad. He's based in Seattle. And so he's going to join us in the morning, his time, which is awesome. A lot of the times I'll have him on my shows to talk about soccer because he's a former pro soccer goalie himself internationally. And now living in that hotbed that is soccer, MLS especially. He is the Seattle Sounders chaplain because now he's also a pastor and a motivational speaker. And we always have a good time. We laugh a lot. One of our most memorable connections came over Father's Day a few years ago just because he was offering messages of hope around Father's Day. So it's awesome that he will be able to join us today. And funny thing about Jesse, even when I was doing radio, straight radio shows, Jesse, because of his setup at his church and with a producer, he does so many appearances on news and sports networks around the country that he already had this special setup in a part of his church. And so he has a producer, Joel, that was working with him, and he would always be on video. So we would be recording our interviews, or he would join us on my radio shows on video. So I could see him, but he couldn't see me, which was kind of funny because we didn't have that capability in the main studio where I used to do my show. And so now that I've shifted to Sirius XM, sometimes because I do a lot of my shows on Zoom, I'll be able to see him. But this will be the first time, gosh, I think ever, in which we've both been on camera at the same time while we're collaborating. And like I say, we always manage to have fun. Our conversation before the World Cup, we both determined, well, he shocked me when he said semifinals for the U.S. men's national team. But after that, I was on board. After he gave me his reasons for why the Americans should make it to the Final Four, then I was on board and was trumpeting that as the goal. It didn't happen. We were both pretty disappointed with the way they performed against Belgium. So Jesse will join us at the top of our second hour. You're going to love it. I can't wait. The fact that he's waking up early is awesome. And so that is one thing I'm really looking forward to on this edition of the show. Always, you can find us on our various platforms on social media, and we've seen the traffic increase. My new boss, Corey, has said, hey, maybe you should go ahead and take the step and get verify with the blue check mark on X, because I was locked out of my X account for 3 months to start 2026. It was really frustrating to try to get that site, that platform, to let me verify my credentials, my identity, so I could get back into my account. So for 3 full months, I sent message after message, email after email, and could not get into my Twix account. Maybe that's why they locked me out. No, I got hacked and I could not get back in. So Corey keeps saying to me, or has said to me, you need to get verified. I keep looking at it. I don't want to spend the money. But I know right now it's a valuable tool for connecting us. So yeah, you can see it on the bottom scroll. And I know Zach has got fun little scrolls that he puts on the bottom so that we can keep you all informed. That is one of the advantages of video. So whether it's Facebook, whether it's X, and then Instagram and TikTok, those are slowly growing too. I never had them before this gig, but with Rogue Media Network, they see a lot of traffic on both Insta, which is actually part of Facebook, and TikTok. And so we'd love to connect with you. Send us a message. And then always during the show, you can weigh in on our comments section. And so that is a live scroll during the YouTube stream. And then those comments are preserved for people who might watch back later on demand. And it's a lot of fun to know where you are and that you're with us, even as we go through these 2 hours daily. Now, as I mentioned, I started this Thursday a little bit earlier. It was a challenge because I'm still not a morning girl. I don't care how many years I do this. I'm not sure I'll ever really be a morning girl. I was the student in junior high and high school that mom had to yell at, threaten, cajole, come in and wake me up multiple times before I would get out of bed. I'm a hit the snooze so many times that the alarm actually turns off. That's me. So, so not a morning person, but I will fake it until it feels like I'm a morning person. So this morning had to get up a little bit earlier because I was invited to appear on 1057 The Fan in Baltimore. So one of the stations, the big stations that used to carry my show when I worked overnight. And I developed relationships with a lot of the morning shows around the country because they would come on the air right after me. So as the hosts of various morning shows were prepping for their 3 or 4 hours on air, they'd be listening to me through the programming in the speakers in their main studio, something like that, or when they were driving in. So Rob Long of 1057 The Fan in Baltimore, and also of Orioles pre and post game, he has invited me on the show many times. And believe it or not, this morning when they had me on their morning show, their number one question and the first topic they posed, the WNBA. So we did talk about Ravens and the new head coach, Jesse Minter, and also Lamar's having to acclimate to a third offensive coordinator since he's been with the Ravens, and post John Harbaugh, a lot of changes for Baltimore. So yeah, we talked about the Ravens. We also talked about the fact that my dog Flower retched in the middle of our very first show last week, launch day, and Flower threw up, maybe a case of the nerves, like sympathy pains. They were sympathy nerves for me as I got started. And on the show this morning, one of the hosts indicated that back in 2020, he actually had a similar experience where his dog threw up in the middle of his broadcast. And so he had just come back from a commercial break, had to then turn around and take another break because it smelled so bad. So yes, I feel like I'm not alone on my island anymore. That was encouraging. But to talk about the WNBA with a radio show in Baltimore this morning just underscores the fact that people are tuned in and are more interested in what's happening in the WNBA. That league has got to get it right. Our traffic with the recent So we've had a couple of different topics. The recent topics we've addressed here on All In with Amy Lawrence, both the Stephanie White pregame speech that she gave, her passionate pushback on some of the critics and those who would accuse her of not caring about her team. And then even going back to Caitlin Clark giving you kind of the non sequitur, the no comment in response to some of the narratives around transgender athletes participating in the WNBA. We've seen a ton of traffic on the videos and the clips that we've put out there on our YouTube channel. So people are very interested. And this really is a perfect opportunity, a supreme and I would say critical moment for the WNBA. Get it right. Stop reacting to every which way the wind blows, and you set the narrative from now on. If you talk about basketball, we will talk about basketball. If you refuse to validate, oh, I'm hitting the computer again and it's moving all around. If you refuse to validate every little criticism that comes along, well, then it later, well, it'll fizzle up and die, but it will mostly fall on deaf ears as well. So this is an opportunity right now before the WNBA hits the stretch run and then gets into its playoffs in October. So they're kind of a similar schedule as is Major League Baseball when it comes to regular season and postseason. Stop reacting to every little controversy. Take care of your business. Do it in a way that shows that you put players and player safety first, but don't respond to all the trolls. And so if you missed that conversation or some of those clips from our Wednesday show, you can go back and grab it on the YouTube channel, of course. So interesting that that's what Baltimore radio wanted to address first when they had me on this morning. And of course, my thanks to all the listeners there in Baltimore, who I know some of you have now decided that you'll follow the show here too, even as the word is spread. So from Baltimore to Los Angeles, been tracking this Dodgers homestand, and coming up this weekend, there's a 4-game set with the Milwaukee Brewers. So 2 of the top teams in baseball, really important for both those teams to kind of stretch and flex those October muscles. I don't want to say it's a preview of the playoffs. I mostly mean that it's the best competition. It's your opportunity to gauge and to measure where you are now, how you stand. Maybe it's a playoff atmosphere there in Los Angeles where Shohei Ohtani, he homered on Wednesday, but also there was a moment, oh my gosh, that made me cringe. And every time I watch it, I still have a visceral reaction to it. Maybe you've seen it now, but if you haven't, Freddie Freeman pursuing a ball toward the dugout loses his footing. Oh my gosh, watch this.
Freddie Freeman's underneath it on the warning track toward the net. The dugout, look out! Freddie takes a tumble into the camera well on the first base side.
Oh, you caught me. I was taking a drink, but I was very intent on watching what was happening there with Freddie. Oh my gosh. So if you don't mind, producer Zach, let's play it again because you can kind of see how he loses his footing trying to reach out for this ball and then boom, tumbles in a scary moment, lands at the floor of the Royals dugout.
Freddie Freeman's underneath it on the warning track toward the net. The dugout, look out! Freddie takes a tumble into the camera well on the first base side.
It is concrete down there. So thankfully, Freddie appears to have escaped injury. But I do want to say this is something that jumped out at me, that the Royals right away tried to get to him and tried to make sure he was okay, even as Dave Roberts is sprinting across the field to check on his all-star first baseman. So yeah, Dave Roberts after the game delivering the latest on Freddie's condition.
Thomas gave me an update by text and said that he's sore, hand, knee, foot, shoulder a little bit, but I think that we really dodged a bullet. Very scary visually. I didn't really get a good look at it. I think for right now, in good spirits, which I think is a good sign, just kind of total body soreness right now. So it'll be day to day.
I can imagine total body soreness because he really went down unprotected. Couldn't brace himself because one arm was up in the air. His feet were out from under him behind him. So there was nothing he could do to kind of brace his fall. There were a couple of guys that were standing at the bottom of the stairs, kind of back against the dugout wall, that tried to reach out for him, but he came down so quickly that there wasn't a whole lot that they could do. So I'm glad to hear that nothing's broken, that it doesn't appear as though he suffered any serious injuries. But if you've ever fallen down the stairs, okay, maybe it's just me. I have before. And yeah, it's the next few days. It's this soreness where you realize that muscles hit either the wall or the stairs, or that they took kind of the brunt of your fall and you didn't even realize you had those muscles. So thankfully, Freddie Freeman is okay. But yeah, so quickly, his legs just whoof out from underneath him as he hit, whether it was a carpet, probably not a carpet, but a tarp there, or it might have been something on the concrete stairs, some type of a mat that allows those guys to come off the field and not have their cleats slip on the concrete steps as they're heading back into the dugout. Freddie Freeman's so critical to everything that the Dodgers do on the field. Not only is he terrific when he's out there on the diamond and at the plate, but he's a veteran voice. He's a former MVP, obviously a World Series MVP and champion now too. Actually, he's got 3 rings, right? 2 with the Dodgers and 1 with the Atlanta Braves. So that was scary, but glad to hear that he's mostly just sore and may even take a day to recover. But they've got the Brewers who will be invading Dodger Stadium soon. So we're thinking about him on this Thursday. Ouch, like as in ouch. And the LA sports scene certainly getting a lot of interest right now with the Lakers breaking news on Wednesday that they'll be sold just 9 months after they were purchased by one of the majority owners of the Dodgers. So I saw this question a lot. Poor Freddie. I saw this question a lot on Wednesday, or really the last 24 hours. Does this mean that the same dude who just sold the Lakers, is it Mark Walters, right? The same dude who just sold the Lakers because he's under investigation for alleged tax fraud and other types of fraud. Does this mean that he's also going to try to sell his stake in the Dodgers? And so I reached out to Michael Duarte, Spider-Man, who is my LA sports insider, and I asked him, is this sale related to the charges that Walters is facing because of these allegations and the potential tax fraud? And he said 100%. That was his response. And then I asked about the Dodgers and whether or not it was going to affect the 2-time World Series champions. And he said that the big thing about the Dodgers is there are far more owners involved. It's not just Mark Walter. I think I called him Walters there for a second. It's not just Mark Walter. There are a lot of other guys and a lot of other partners with the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, I'd have to go back and look. Someone reached out to, maybe it was Stan Kasten or a member of the Dodgers front office or brain trust, to ask what this move, Mark Walters selling the Lakers and facing tax fraud charges, have to do with the Dodgers, and how will it affect the Dodgers? And the response essentially was, it won't. Nothing will change for the Dodgers. And right now they are a well-oiled machine, to be sure. So we'll continue to follow that story. I think the Dodgers are well insulated is kind of the idea. This is not one dude who owns the Dodgers and is now going to have to divest himself of that franchise as well. So we are just getting started. Love to hear from you here on the YouTube stream. If you want to check out the comments section, I think it's kind of fun that you all go back and forth and talk to each other. So Jesse and Elmer and Ron, they are already into the chat, and we love to connect with people. I think I'm still spreading the word about the new show, which is why I appreciate the Baltimore Morning Show, the Big Bad Morning Show there in Baltimore, having me on and allowing me to mention it. But it's neat to know that even in a new forum, that radio listeners who've listened to me and followed me for a long time are willing to adapt with me, even as I adapt to this camera that is constantly staring me in the face. Rob Long said on the Baltimore Morning Show this morning, just ignore it. Pretend like it's not there. I don't know how you do that. The green light is looking at me. I guess I could do this. Hold on. Oh, see? I can turn off the camera. That wouldn't make for a great YouTube broadcast. So, coming up, some QB news. We've got quarterback battles that are still taking place around the NFL, even as we enter week 1 of the preseason. We've got one that was settled, a couple more still raging. Battles raging, battles waging. They're waging battle and the battle is raging. You know what I mean. Good morning to you, or good afternoon, or good night, wherever you happen to be at whatever time you're following the show. All in with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Happy Thursday to you. We are drawing closer to the first full weekend of preseason football in the NFL. And so we had kind of a soft re-entry with the focus on the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies last weekend in Canton. But yes, it was preceded by the very first, almost like the cheese plate at a big dinner. It was the charcuterie, or actually, I feel like the preseason football slate, the full preseason football schedule, is probably the charcuterie before a big meal or a holiday meal. So that would mean maybe, the shrimp cocktail. So I love food analogies, food metaphors. Food is my love language. And my husband tells everyone that. It's like he wants people to know just to be ready. in case I eat everything that's on my plate, which I always do. Oh my gosh. So anyway, shrimp cocktail is the perfect way to describe what you get on Hall of Fame weekend. And then as we get into the full preseason slate, well, then we're talking about the plate of hors d'oeuvres and the charcuterie trays that are out and available for everyone to pick at. Because you're not going to sit there and eat everything on the charcuterie tray. You can't do that, right? You've got toothpicks that you pick up the cheese with, and maybe the prosciutto and some of the other meats, or if there's fruit there, whatever it happens to be. You don't stand around and just fill up and eat everything that's on that charcuterie tray, but you are going to try and sample a little bit of everything. My goodness, this is such a great analogy. It's a great metaphor. I'm bringing this back. It's my first time trying this one, but I'm bringing it back. So in the preseason, you maybe jump around, you dabble a little bit, but very few of us watch the entire preseason game. That's really for coaches and scouts to do. We don't have to do that, but it is a taste, if you will, of what's to come. Seriously, I'm very proud of myself for that food metaphor. I amuse myself far too easily. So as we get into the football weekend, there's that. Enjoy the cheeses, the meats, the fruit, use the toothpicks, or if you're part of my family, we're part Italian, part Filipino, part Polish, part Sicilian. We just kind of use our hands. That's one of the things that families are good for, is we share the germs anyway. So yeah, I'll get off the food now, but that was fun. I really enjoyed that. So we know now with the Cleveland Browns that they're in yet another era of transition. It's nonstop. Although Kevin Stefanski survived a lot of different changes on the shores of Lake Erie, and it is a little jarring to not talk about the Browns with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. I still believe he was made a bit of the fall guy. Their number one issue, the reason that Myles Garrett left and that he wanted out even before he signed that huge deal about a year plus ago, a little over a year ago. The reason he wants out is because the Browns are not Super Bowl contenders. They're not a playoff team. And that all goes back to not Kevin Stefanski or who the head coach is. It goes back to the fact that they've had a revolving door at quarterback for as long as I have been in network sports radio. Okay, so we're talking about over 20 years, about 21 years for me since I was first doing my shows on ESPN radio, or doing shows on ESPN radio when I first went to Bristol. Not in my entire career covering the Browns, except for a couple seasons with Baker Mayfield. And we know that they treated him poorly on the way out, so they could bring in Deshaun Watson. Not since Baker, and really only Baker in my tenure covering the Browns, have they ever had stability at that quarterback position. And it's sad because the Browns are now stuck in a hamster wheel. It's deja vu because Deshaun Watson is still under contract, and somehow they still think that it can work. They still believe that Deshaun Watson could be the answer. And I feel badly for Todd Monken. He was handed a quarterback. Actually, two quarterbacks, three quarterbacks, if you count Dylan Gabriel. It's not like he got to choose. Now, the end of this guaranteed money for Deshaun Watson, it'll happen sometime soon. They're trying to see if they can get even one full quality season out of a guy who's played 19 games for them. 19 games since he started with the Browns and got that contract. What was it? 2022? It's unbelievable to me. It blows me away that they honestly think they're going to get something different out of a guy who has barely played football again for another year and a half. What's the colloquial, or would you call it the modern definition of insanity? The one that people will pass around, doing the same thing over and over again and believing that you're going to see different results. At least they have Shedeur Sanders, who's battling against Deshaun Watson in the preseason. But most of the Browns insiders I talk to actually think they should have, or need to, cut bait with Deshaun Watson and just hand the reins to Shedeur Sanders. No, he's not as polished. No, he doesn't have as much experience. No, he hasn't been in the NFL as long. But since most of their roster, a lot of their roster is young, growing, talented pieces, but still fairly raw. It's a young roster. Why not let them all grow up around Shedeur and also with Todd Monken, who's a head coach for the first time? So the Browns are at this point still considering this a quarterback competition, but they are starting Deshaun Watson in their preseason opener. Okay, so means a whole lot of nothing, but this is how they get him some extra reps. This is their first preseason game is the Bears in Chicago Saturday, and then Shedeur will start their second preseason game at home against the Bills. So that comes up next weekend. Again, not like Shadeur's been named the starter, but at least he gets the first opportunity. And so I feel like we've heard this from Deshaun Watson over and over at different times since he joined the Browns. But yes, he gets the nod for preseason week number 1.
I'm super excited. I think all the hard work that I put in with the training staff, with my team, my personal team to get to this stage has been tremendous for myself. So I'm super excited, for those opportunities.
So Deshaun Watson is excited. That's kind of something we've heard from him at different junctures along the way, ever since he and the Browns stunned the NFL and really stunned the world by handing him that, what was it, 245 to, I don't even know anymore. The fully guaranteed contract, $256 million, something like that. They have seen him play in only 19 games, whether it was the suspension that he had to serve initially because of all the charges against him or the allegations against him leveled by women who, the story, women who had given him massages and all the accusations. That was a cesspool to wade into. The Browns determined that they thought that they could get the same talented guy who was a Pro Bowler before he decided to take a year off and just stand on the sidelines with the Houston Texans. So the path is, it's fascinating to me, the decisions that were made along the way. At any point, this could have turned out very differently, but Deshaun Watson determined that he wanted to trade. He wanted out of Houston. He felt disrespected. Now, this is going back to 2020. He felt disrespected because the Texans had gone ahead and hired there was a new GM. They'd hired a new GM without consulting him. That was the story that came out of Texas. So he determined he was not going to play. He wanted a trade. He was going to be stubborn. He was going to win that game of chicken, if you will, with the organization. So the organization decided that they would find a trade partner for him. Then all of the allegations start coming out. Various women. It was 1, then it was 2, then it was 3. And it seemed like every week for a few months, there was a new masseuse or a new woman who had given Deshaun Watson a massage. The story was very similar. He found them on DMs on social media, Instagram, and they had various allegations about inappropriate actions by Deshaun, in some cases, even inappropriate physical contact. So a sexual assault by definition. And as he's standing on the sidelines there in 2020, now the Texans are happy that they've got another quarterback and that they don't have to put him on the field because they still want to trade him. They don't want him to get hurt, and they actually don't want him on the field because of all these allegations. So the Browns bite and they offer the Texans a haul. They end up going way over, whatever the bidding price or asking price would have been, the draft picks. It was something that the Texans couldn't have envisioned in their wildest dreams after all of the baggage now with Deshaun Watson. So he ends up in March of 2022 getting traded to the Browns. The Browns were never a consideration until they gave him that guaranteed money. I'm going to go and find the exact number because I don't want to be quoting the wrong things. It was ridiculous is what it was, regardless of the actual number. 230. So I was close. Okay. $230 million guaranteed. That's why he decided that he would go to Cleveland, but he had the suspension. Then he's had multiple injuries, 19 games since the 22 season. And when he's on the field, in large part because he's not getting a lot of reps or because he's inconsistent and he's not the same guy that he was. You can't take off so much time during a football season or multiple seasons. So again, not playing in 21, not playing in 22 for the most part, missing time with injuries. Now it's been another year and a half plus since he's played football that mattered. You can't expect that his skills don't diminish or that he's the same guy that he was when he was a Pro Bowler with the Texans during his rookie contract after Houston drafted him. So when he's on the field, his quarterback rating is among the worst that we've seen over that span going back to the 22 season. And unfortunately, this is where the Browns are, but it's not a new story with the Browns. And this is a part that every time I talk about Browns quarterbacks, I can't even read all the names anymore. I go back to 99 when they had their franchise resurrected, reborn, if you will. And since then, since 1999, they have had all of 3 seasons since 99 in which one quarterback has started every game. That's mind-blowing. That's not just a revolving door at quarterback. That's a disaster. So Tim Couch in 2001, and then more recently, a couple seasons with Baker Mayfield. Remember, he was a rookie, and they started Tyrod Taylor, but then Baker firmly was established as the starter pretty early in 2018. So in 19 and 20, Baker started every game, but they decided, and I know Baker was young, he was emotional, he liked to put his money where his mouth was, and he was a lot to take when he was immature, but they chose Deshaun Watson over him. And since then, no stability at all at the position. So starting in 2022, Jacoby Brissett, 11 games while Deshaun was suspended, and then Watson comes in for the final 6 of the year. In 23, Watson, Joe Flacco, their rookie, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, PJ Walker, and Jeff Driscoll. I mean, are you kidding me? You paid $230 million fully guaranteed for a guy who can't stay on the field. The year after, again, Watson barely starts. He doesn't start half the games. He's out there for only 7. Jameis Winston, DTR again. Bailey Zappi started a game for them. And then last year, because Watson wasn't available with the injuries, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco again, which I actually love that part of the story. But yeah, it's frustrating over and over and over again. They go back to the same well and they're not going to get water that's a different color. If the water's brown from this well, it's going to be brown. If sometimes when you haven't, this, I'll just use our house as an example. We purchased a house that had been empty for a year and the water had been turned off. So we turned the water on, and as it first starts coming out of the faucets, it's brown, it's yellow, it's an eerie green color, very very scary. So we had to run the water for a while. Yeah, turning on that faucet, the water's not going to be a different color. And in fact, his skills may even be more diminished. So why then are the Browns using him at least first for the preseason? Well, for Todd Monken and for that coaching staff, they've determined that his experience gives him a slight edge over the athleticism and the explosiveness of a Shedeur Sanders. So we'll see if it changes during the preseason. But man, if you're a Browns fan, I don't know what you prefer. I'd love to hear from you at A-Law Radio. You can find me, or you can weigh in on our YouTube stream. It's got to be frustrating. And maybe they don't have high expectations. I did speak to a Browns insider on a Sirius XM show that I did last week, and he actually said 6 or 7 wins, that if they go over the 5 wins, which is, I think, a line from Vegas, their owners indicated, take the over, right? Don't go under. But this Browns insider I spoke to said maybe 6 or 7 wins. And that's too bad. They no longer have the star power of Myles Garrett or his skill set as one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And it could be tough. Ultimately, they've got to find the answer at quarterback because Deshaun Watson is not it. He's not it. At A-Law Radio, if you want to weigh in. And again, you can also on our YouTube stream, you can share your perspective. It's good to hear from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and Bob this morning. And also, I see someone. So I love time zones. We've got from South Carolina, upstate South Carolina, a good afternoon. Because, yeah, time zones make it different day parts. And some of you will watch after the fact. So I try to be cognizant of that. But definitely connect with us on our social media. Now, straight ahead, a little bit more QB news about the preseason, the Atlanta Falcons, who now have Kevin Stefanski as their head coach. And we also hear from JJ McCarthy, the Vikings' young quarterback who has to now go out there and be the best QB2 he can because he did not get the starting nod, at least for week number 1. And then top of the hour, Jesse Bradley will join us from Seattle, one of my favorite guest, but also he's become a good friend. We always have fun when we're together on the air. Is this air? When we're together on the stream. How about I just go with when we're together, when we collaborate? It's All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
I get pretty fired up talking about quarterbacks, and the Browns make it way too easy. It's never ending. It's a saga that's never ending. When was the last time you watched a movie that seemed to drag on forever, and you feel like they could have eliminated maybe 20, 25 minutes from a 3+ hour epic and made it so much tighter and more enjoyable? this situation with the Browns, and I'm not telling Cleveland sports fans anything that you don't already know. This situation has dragged on far too long. And unfortunately for Kevin Stefanski, he was saddled with a quarterback that I dare say he would not have handpicked. But once you give a dude a fully guaranteed contract, you got to try to make it work. So I understand that, but why are you going back now to the well? Maybe they feel like they don't have a better option or they need a stopgap until Shedeur Sanders is ready. Remember, he was the second quarterback they picked in that draft in 2025. And so maybe, just maybe, he provides some life and some pop and some energy and some versatility at that position. I don't know what the strategy is, but I kind of feel bad for Todd Monken. And I'm happy for Kevin Stefanski that he gets to start fresh elsewhere. So a little bit of QB news coming out of Atlanta. That is Tua Tagovailoa will start their first preseason game, though Stefanski's not yet named the starting QB. So that's just for this week. And it's a fluid situation, if you will. Now, we know that Kyler Murray won the quarterback battle in Minnesota. Got to be careful I don't say Arizona because for years now, of course, Kyler's been associated with the Cardinals, but they're also starting fresh. Not at quarterback, though. The JJ McCarthy question now for the Vikings looms. And while they probably don't have to address it now, there are a lot of people wondering if this signals the end of JJ in Minnesota. He did not have to speak on Tuesday when this announcement was made. I think he was held out of practice. They had a lighter practice, but he did show up and stand in front of the microphones on Wednesday to answer questions about being labeled QB2 or being second on the depth chart, while this new guy, Kyler Murray, comes in and has already earned the starting nod.
Look, decision was made that was out of my control. And obviously every competitor wants to play, but moving forward, it's just about continuing to work hard and just staying ready for when my number's called.
What were your initial thoughts when you found out the decision had been made?
Obviously disappointed. I'm a competitor, but at the end of the day, it's in the past, and I'm moving on to the next practice, the next rep, the same mindset I had going into it, and focusing on the Giants this week.
He also went on to say that he has zero desire to go anywhere else. He's not looking for a trade. He's not asking for a trade. Quote, "This is the place I want to be, and I love every single person in this building. I love the state. I love the fan base. I'm going to continue to just do whatever I can for this team and this organization." Now, this decision, not a huge surprise, and I think we talked about it when we heard from Kyler going back to our Wednesday show, because Kyler Murray's really the guy that Kevin O'Connell wanted when it became available. When he and the Cardinals parted ways, it was pretty clear that this was the quarterback O'Connell and his coaching staff wanted. And they're also having a change in their front office there in Minnesota. So their former GM is kind of taking the brunt for some of the personnel decisions that haven't worked out. But now that they've also got a Carson Wentz on the roster, another veteran, does that make JJ McCarthy expendable? Here's what I always say about this, and it's really after years of covering the NFL and understanding that at least half the teams in the league this season will use multiple quarterbacks. As much as they want stability at that position, and maybe they'll get it this season from Kyler Murray, if you're the backup QB, you've got to stay ready because Kyler could get hurt. Obviously, you could have a situation where they come out of the gate slow and the Vikings haven't won much. And so that means they're looking to make changes. Could they then throw JJ McCarthy in there? I just always come back to poor Justin Jefferson. Since Kirk Cousins and then Sam Darnold, I mean, at least they each played, they were consistent in terms of being healthy and they played through full seasons. Now Justin Jefferson's having to adjust to yet a new QB. So there just not been a whole lot of consistency for the receivers either. And coming out of the gate for the Vikings, their schedule is not easy. So this is why I say if they come out slowly or they limp out of the starting gate to begin the season, well, then you wonder, will they maybe start to look at a change? And I'm not predicting that. I'm not telling you that's going to happen, only that I don't know that you could say the Vikings are stuck to Kyler Murray for the entire season. I mean, they need to figure out what they have in JJ McCarthy, and consistency's been the issue with him. But they want to get Kyler acclimated to the new offense, to the new system, to schemes, of course, to the weapons that he's got around him, like Jefferson, like Jordan Addison, just the way that they can give him reps here in the preseason, as many as they can, that will help him be more prepared for week 1. But JJ McCarthy is still relatively cheap. He's in his rookie deal. And so you got to know before you get to the point where you either give him the 5th-year option, or you pick up his 5th-year option, or you trade him. You got to know what you have with him. So he's going to get back on the field, I have no doubt. But the way their schedule lays out to start is pretty tough. They go Packers and Bears in week 1 and week 2. So to begin with, 2 division opponents and 2 teams. So Bears were the division champs last year. Packers lost Micah Parsons, and so they kind of fizzled toward the end. But to start out with those 2 games, it's like wham in your face to begin 2026. Then they've got the Buccaneers. It's a transition year for the Bucs at some positions. I still think that they're tough. Just their defense has got some toughness to it, and so it'll force the Vikings to play smart football. Dolphins, Saints, Colts, maybe not at this point teams that you would look at and say, whoa, this is a buzzsaw. But there's no such thing as a cream puff in the NFL. Really, though, in those first 2 months, 2 weeks inside the NFC North, and then the Lions are within the first 7 weeks too. Buccaneers in there on the road at Tampa, on the road at New Orleans, so they play the NFC South this season. There's a lot there. Kyler's a veteran. I think the experience gives him an edge, which is why they're giving him the starting gig. There's not a huge margin that separates JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray, excuse me. There's not a whole lot that separates the two of them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a change, but I also know that they need some stability and some steadiness there too. And they're right now going with the experienced hand. So I saw this question over on our YouTube stream, and it's funny because Zach and I were talking about it before the show. He said, and I wish I knew this guy's name. So his handle, Zach, it's the @SportsBreakMedia, and he's the listener/viewer who is in upstate South Carolina. But he asked, have you guys watched the Seahawks Hard Knocks yet? So it's funny because Zach and I were talking about this before the show. We've both been watching a bunch of the clips. So I've not seen the whole thing, but I have enjoyed the clips that the NFL is releasing, or that NFL Network and the Seahawks X account are releasing, and what we've seen on YouTube. A few things that stood out to me: Mike McDonald, now a Super Bowl winning coach. So he's got that validation and that confidence. Like, he came in, he's the youngest? I think maybe he was. Not anymore. Jesse Minter might be younger, but Mike McDonald, the youngest NFL head coach when he first took over with the Seahawks. And yet anybody who covers the Seahawks extensively would tell you that he is in charge, right? So he does not back down, not from a bigger guy, not from a veteran. He has got a particular way that he wants things done, and he's also extremely tough. And that's the identity of the Seahawks now, is toughness. So there's this clip that's out there, if you haven't seen it, where one of his defensive linemen, a couple plays in a row, and it sounds like it was a fairly common issue, at least to start training camp, he keeps getting too close to the quarterback. He keeps getting too close to Sam Darnold, who right now is wearing a red jersey. Quarterbacks are wearing red jerseys during training camp because they're not supposed to get hit. Why take an unnecessary risk with your quarterback when it's hard enough to stay healthy throughout 17 regular season games? You don't want your own defensive guys hitting him. So as a side note, that's one of the reasons why the Raiders fracas, maybe didn't get to the point of fracas, but the strongly worded conversation between Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby made headlines last week. They actually exchanged pushes, maybe, wouldn't call them punches, but after Crosby had hit Kirk Cousins a couple times, or at least got an arm on him, a big paw, the big paw of the law, if you will. I mean, I don't think that I would want to challenge Max Crosby, but Kirk Cousins did not back down. And so they got into each other's faces, and there at Raiders camp, they were actually both suspended. They were kicked out of camp the next day. They weren't allowed to participate because the point was being made, hey, we're not going to take risks like this in camp. We need you to be healthy. You're two of the most important guys. We need you to be healthy once we get to the regular season. But also because quarterbacks are a protected species this time of the year. And so to see this clip where Mike McDonald actually booted his defensive lineman off the field and the way he got in his face, hey, stop hitting the quarterback. Don't get so close to the quarterback. You don't need to. We don't need to do that right now. And the very next snap or another snap in that same practice, defensive lineman is back breathing on the quarterback, and Mike McDonald kicks him out. And they're actually having words where, now the words were bleeped out, but the D lineman is walking off the field. He's calling it BS and he's dropping an F-bomb. And the last thing you see from Mike McDonald is, it's my bleeping practice. Turns out I run this practice. And so he's tough. There have been a couple of other ones that I've loved from the Hard Knocks clips that have been released. So another one, actually, it's a high camera that is in the office of Mike McDonald. So his head coaching office, it's a camera that's up high, so like a bird's eye view. So I wonder if that makes him and also visitors less aware, or maybe they potentially could forget, or it's not quite so intrusive in the office when it's a cameraman or it's a camera that's mounted like this one on a laptop. Well, he had a visit from Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson, and it was pretty insightful, the comments. Now, was the GM of the Spurs as well who was there. I think it was the GM. There was another guy from the front office, and he was also there kind of standing in the doorway. Yes, it was. It was Brian Wright, and then Mitch Johnson was sitting inside with Mike McDonald, and they were having a kind of interesting conversation about Victor Wembanyama, how early they knew that he was going to be a star, how early the Spurs were in on him, how they found him, what it's like. And so that was kind of a fun exchange where Mitch Johnson and Brian Wright are visiting Spurs camp. Not Spurs camp, sorry. They're from the Spurs and they're visiting Seahawks camp. But this is what happens when you are a Super Bowl champion, a national champion. Other coaches, it's fairly common. Other coaches want to come in and they just want to witness how you run your camper, how you do practice, or they want to see, what kind of drills you run if it's sport to sport. Now, this obviously a little bit different, but conditioning and training and culture and identity, chemistry, how you communicate with players and how you find players. These are all skills and also responsibilities for GMs and coaches that transcend whatever sport they happen to be in. But yes, when you win a Super Bowl like the Seahawks did, when you're a Super Bowl winning coach, you tend to have other coaches that want to stop in and visit. And so it's pretty common, and it was caught on their Hard Knocks cams, and it was part of one of the Hard Knocks episodes. Got to say, though, as we head up toward the top of the hour, whenever I think about Hard Knocks, my absolute favorite Hard Knocks clip of all time, I have watched it so many times, even this week, because whenever I think about it, I search for it on YouTube and I watch it again, is the Lions going back to Aiden Hutchinson's rookie year. Okay, so you remember he was a Michigan guy and he was drafted. Oh my gosh, there was so much excitement around him. So much of the excitement centered on the fact that he's a Michigan guy and that he played his ball nearby and that the Lions were going to pick him up. And so he got a lot of attention even before he was drafted, just being in the green room, part of the pre-draft process. So in 2022, when the Detroit Lions were part of Hard Knocks, so Dan Campbell still getting adjusted there. We'd already heard the whole thing about, we're going to bite their kneecaps, right? if they kick us and they knock us to the ground on the way back up, we're going to bite their kneecaps. A little bit odd, but his signature line, and he's one of the best press conference leaders, or that's the wrong term. He's one of the best press conference watches. Just anytime a mic is in front of Dan Campbell, it's awesome. So there's this clip from Aiden Hutchinson's rookie camp where Dan Campbell's at the front of the room. So they're in the meeting room. They're not out in the field. They're in the meeting room. They've got the big screen behind them. And Campbell is previewing what's to come on Monday. And on the screen behind him is just the word pads. And so he's kind of strutting off the stage there. That's what you know about practice on Monday. Now, he says, Aiden, I don't remember if he used his last name too, but he said, Aiden, come up here and sing us a bleeping song. Now, I am assuming that Hutchinson knew this was coming because there is this welcome to the NFL process for all rookies. In any sport, you're going to have rookies. I don't want to use hazing because that's got a different connotation, but there are going to be moments where rookies have to dress up like Barbies and carry backpacks, or, they have to go get the water for the veterans, or they got to carry the vets equipment, whatever it happens to be. Well, as part of the Lions training camp, Aiden Hutchinson had to stand in front of the entire team in this room, and he had to give a song. So he gets up there and he's nervous, you can tell. And he starts the song with a couple of finger snaps and then the ooh, 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 except for he starts with the wrong verse. So he goes to deliver Billie Jean from Michael Jackson, but he starts with the wrong verse and he drops an oh blank, and the whole room goes crazy and they start booing him. But then he begins again and he gets the first verse right. And by the time he gets to the chorus for Billie Jean, the entire room is singing and snapping and yelling. And so you can see why it'd be this great bonding experience, but also why there's mad respect for an Aiden Hutchinson who can get up there and bomb his first attempt, but then go back and deliver on a dime. And I love it because of the camaraderie and the team and how they support him, and the fact that they gave him his flowers. That's kind of a weird way to say it, but they gave him his props and his credit, but only after they razzed him. And that's part of being a family. Yeah, this is awesome. He was so focused and so concentrated and so nervous, and the team picked him up, and he earned their respect because he could stand in front of them and deliver this song and do it. Like, he could have said no, or he could have just, done a couple lines and flubbed it and not cared and whatever. I'm not a singer. I'm going to prove my worth out there on the field. But instead, he did what the team asked, and he was kind of indoctrinated into, this team and this family and Lions culture. So it was brilliant. I love it. Please go check it out. Or maybe, just maybe, at some point in our second hour, we might be able to share it with you because it was awesome. It'll make your day. That's an hour. That's an hour in the books, and I'm already running late. Our friend Jesse Bradley from Seattle will join us next. He's so comfortable being on camera. I could use some pointers from him, but former pro soccer goalie, World Cup analyst extraordinaire, Seattle Sounders chaplain. He was actually at the Sounders game last night and sent me a photo. So I'm excited to have him on the show for the first time here after a quick break. All in with Amy Lawrence. Thanks to Waco Surf for partnering with us as we get acclimated to doing a show on YouTube, because we are here on YouTube and also Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier third event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Well, I'm checking my phone. Jesse Bradley, our scheduled guest for this morning, is normally very timely. In fact, a lot of times he's early. So I trust him. I know something must be up. I hope it's not a technical thing. Also checking my email just to make sure that he's not having an issue getting in, because I'm the one that sent him the link to join us here. Oh, yay. Okay. So I feel better now. Is worried that something might be wrong, but he's one of the great friends that I've made in this business over the last, say, 5-6 years. We initially started out being, soccer conversation, and it has evolved and changed, and now it's completely different. And so I'm very excited. You gave me a scare there for a second, but Jesse Bradley joining us from Seattle, and he's not only a former pro soccer goalie, soccer analyst extraordinaire, but a father and a husband and a chaplain for the Sounders, and also so comfortable on video. You've been doing this a lot longer than me, Jesse.
Amy, congratulations on your new show. And I think adding the video is great. I mean, so many people have been listening to you cover sports, doing it with excellence, all different sports for many years. And then now you made these big life changes, married, moved to Texas, and then starting this show. So I'm excited to be joining you from the beginning. I think you're going to look back over the years, and it's going to be amazing. Just every episode, and good job. We all need to take risks. We all need to step out of our comfort zone. And I think you're modeling that. So great job.
I figured at this point, so this is 30 years in 2026, 30 years for me in the industry, going back to when I started in news and wanted to work in sports. But I thought, if you're not evolving and changing and you're not pushing yourself a little bit, then you might as well give up the ghost. So this is different for me. But I know I was telling our audience earlier that when you and I first started doing conversations, you would be on video and you wouldn't be able to see me. I would just be using the audio. So now it's kind of come together where we're both able to see each other on camera.
Yes, but you're a radio expert, and I think people love that connection. And you're also someone with a lot of authenticity. I think people are going to enjoy being able to see, your facial expressions and your passion and just, adding all that to it. So this is a good move.
So last week, very first show, dog threw up right behind me. So that was very authentic. And then as we were wrapping the week, I was all excited. I'm like, okay, we finished up. I didn't break anything. I'm at my mom's house doing the show, and this bug is attacking me, and it's like buzzing the tower, like in Top Gun. And I couldn't help it. It's the automatic reaction. So the last thing people saw last week is me going like this with with a bug. That never happens to you. I see you on TV all the time. That doesn't happen to you.
Was it a Texas-sized bug, Amy?
Oh,
Because
they're all critters.
when I lived in Texas, it was 4 years. There was one night I literally woke up and thought there was some large animal in my room. But as I went to look for it, it was 2 cockroaches, and they were going through my garbage can, and they were massive. You know, everything's bigger in Texas, including these cockroaches. And they're slime. You turn on the lights, and they just slither back into the darkness. Like cockroaches don't like the light. And I had to, kill those cockroaches. So I think if you show a bug, if you show whatever the animal's done there, I mean, this is definitely not available on radio.
That's true. Although you're not going to get me picking up a bug like that, but we have seen some enormous beetles. I mean, longer than an inch. We've seen huge beetles. And recently, I'm not sure what's going on, but little baby geckos. So they almost look like leaves on the floor, and I'll bend down to kind of pick it up and like, oh, that thing's moving. And they are fast and not dangerous. I don't know how they get in the house, but we've got a family of geckos. The dogs will, if they see them moving, would follow them around the house. So they're probably best not to be here. But yeah, outside. So my husband just went out so we have 5 acres and the back is mature woods. He went out there yesterday because he's got a deer cam getting ready for hunting season. He stumbled upon a large group of wild hogs. So we have wild hogs back there. We've also got a family of raccoons. There are deer, and then coyotes. So we haven't heard them much this summer, but where we are in the country, Jesse, oh my gosh, at night, the way they communicate, it's eerie to hear them howling to each other. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's a whole, and then there's cows, horses, sheep, goats. Yeah, we're in animal paradise here.
I mean, we're talking, Amy, about your new show and going from radio to now adding video. But what you could also add, I think this is why people love going on the adventure with you, is marriage is new. You know, everyone is interested in that shift, from being single to married. Then your career change, because, on the East Coast, you were well established with major networks, teaching at Syracuse University. I mean, you had so much there. And then to start, in Texas, which is such a cultural change, there are not wild hogs running through New York City. So all these benefits of going to Texas. But I think it reminds me when my wife and I, Lori, got married, we went from Iowa to California. I sold my house, and then we went and tried to find and rent a place, and just marriage was new. And sometimes on the scales, it's like, okay, a stressor, at least on paper, would be getting married or moving or new job, or, you just go down the list. And I was like, I think we hit all those. You are just saying, here it is, be transparent, but God is with you. You're walking by faith, and you're just taking it well, being in Texas. And I know being close to family was a huge factor too.
Yeah, that is why we moved. And there's so many people around the country that can identify with this, where I say elderly. My parents, our moms are not elderly, but they're into their 80s. My mom's about to be 80. And I've lived away from my mom most of my career because I had to follow the jobs, and my husband's whole family is here. So family was really the catalyst for moving. But yes, it's been some culture shock. So I'm glad you can identify. And we've determined, so our first 2 years of marriage, each one of them featured a cross-country move. So now we've determined, if nothing else, in 2026, we will not make a cross-country move. So we're here for at least a few years anyway. So yeah, you definitely identify. But it's true that you oftentimes, when you make a big decision, have to rank your priorities, so to speak. You have to remember what's most important. And sometimes it can be a job, maybe younger in your lifetime, but very often, if you're going to honor your parents, like the word talks about, you need to be where you can actually be part of their lives and participate. And so I've got a lot of friends who are going through this right now, whether moving their parents or helping their parents sell a house, or in some
Mm-hmm.
cases burying their parents, and everything that comes along with that. And I just don't want to miss, and neither does my husband, whatever time we have left. Let's hope it's another 50 years with our moms.
Yeah.
But whatever time we have left. So yeah, this is a decision that was made for family for sure.
When you talk about God's work, some people compartmentalize and think, oh, it only happens in a church. But no, what you're doing, caring for parents, and there are so many people who are in that role, and you don't know exactly their health. What's it going to be like? Are they going to be able to drive? For how long? Are you going to step in with sales? And caring for people, especially family. Sometimes in our culture, we just value the big opportunity or the career move, and then families are so spread out, and it's difficult long distance. And what I see right now is people realizing, and COVID even, I think, brought a reset as well, where it's like, what really matters in life? Like God, family, friends. And it isn't just about where you can make the most money or the next career advancement and climbing the ladder. Yes, it's good to develop your skills, and praise God for open doors. But I think right now what I see is that people are connecting when those three generations are together. There was an opportunity for me to say yes to two different churches, to be the lead pastor. And one was in Pennsylvania, and it was a massive church. And then there's a small church in California. But the smaller church was close to my parents. And that meant that with our young kids, they could get time with their grandparents and vice versa. And there's something about those three generations coming together. We were just at a family camp, Christian Camp Mount Hermon in California, and so many come, and there's three generations, and they're all, just loving each other, having a great time, following Jesus, and that's rich, and no career can bring that family together. So you've made some intentional, wise moves, but I hear you dropping the anchor. There's going to be no move. Like, you're not coming out to Seattle next. You've done New York City, Texas, and
not now. Right.
Yeah, let's hit a pause button.
Yeah, but it's been good, and I'm glad to hear you say that your decisions for family have worked out, because that is an encouragement as well. And what's really interesting too is that as we're talking about faith, and I love that these conversations have become more prominent in sports. You are the chaplain for the Seattle Sounders, and you've also worked with the under-20 U.S. men's national team. And I know you've done some chaplain, or had a chaplain role with them too, and done some Bible studies, even some prayer. It's awesome how in 2026, more athletes are willing to speak about the role that faith plays, because they're out there putting minds and bodies on the line. You certainly understand what that's like, but to also have that mental and spiritual and emotional stability and foundation, it's become ever more prominent. And I think it's really neat, because it's not something that you have to make secondary or bury. Now, it seems like every day the athletes and part of the World Cup too, talking about the role that faith plays. So I think it's really neat that it's become more common, and that we can have those conversations now.
Yes. And as it comes together, there's a lot of different factors. I think one of them is that teams, franchises, they care for players' mental health. They care for their spiritual lives. They bring in chaplains, and they realize that when a player off the field is doing well, that translates on the field. They're related. And just also loving in whatever field you're in, loving the people who work for you and providing for them. And that's one element. Then I think we have a younger generation, and things are changing. For baby boomers, they go to church 1.4 times a month, but Gen Z 1.9. And you're also seeing a younger generation that doesn't want to hide their faith. They just want to be authentic. They're not being rude, but they're asking. When they get an interview, they're saying, can I share about my faith? Because it's a big part of who they are. And they don't want it to just tuck it away, but they want to be public, private, consistent, and just share what means a lot to them. I love being a chaplain. And last night we had the Sounders against Chivas. It was exciting, and gathering together those chapels before the matches, and we gather together and pray and read some scripture. And then also with serving for the national teams, our under-20 team was just in CONCACAF, the finals, and it was Mexico City, but they had a great run, won a lot of games, and we would gather together online and doing it long distance. But sometimes I'll go to the camps, and players are just like anyone else. It might look like professional athletes and national team players have it all together, but they have insecurities, they have tragedies, they have injuries, they have life decisions that they're making around marriage, around careers, contracts, all of these. And you need a safe place. We all do, where you can be honest, let your guard down. Chaplains don't ask things from players. Players get 1,000 requests, but chaplains are just there for the players. And to provide that safe place where they can talk, process, pray, and come alongside. And for me, I was an atheist. I mean, I wanted nothing to do with faith. Soccer was everything. I was at Dartmouth, Ivy League school, signed up for a religion class, was not seeking God, trying to fulfill my distributives, and read the Bible for the first time and just learned about this God who loves us. And it's a relationship. It's not religion. And he's with us everywhere. And you can talk to God and then receive encouragement, peace, and hope. And it was like, when God came into my life, now soccer, instead of a lot of pressure, being a goalie, you can't mess up. Now it's just fun. It's a gift. It's joy. My teammates, and it matters. Faith matters. And what you're seeing right now is a generation that you saw with the national team for soccer at the World Cup. They pray together after the match. They share their faith. Messi sharing his faith. Players from every team sharing their faith. I've never seen, and this is global, I've never seen athletes, it's not just soccer, sharing about their relationship with God. And there's going to be mixed reactions to that, but they're not out there to try to get everyone's approval. And they're doing it humbly and honestly, authentically, with love. But if it makes a difference in their life, whatever we're excited about, we're going to talk about. I mean, that's just human nature. So that's what they're doing. They're excited. They're talking.
So using part of your story, because you went through this major shift when you were playing pro soccer as a goalie, where you kind of lost soccer. It was pulled out from underneath you. It was your platform. It was your everything, as you talk about. I feel like that's something with athletes where it gives them great perspective, because eventually the crowds are going to go away. Eventually, whether it's via an injury or even if it ends in the Hall of Fame, like Drew Brees, how they often talk about the adjustment post sports and post career. But even the average NFL career doesn't last 5 seasons. So you do it for a couple of years, you're in the spotlight, maybe you make great money, but then it's gone. And I feel like that's one of the ways and one of the reasons why faith and family and just having priorities in order can be so important, because we focus a lot of attention, and there maybe is a ton of money, and there's high profile, and you're famous, and then you're not, and the world moves on, and you're left with nothing, maybe, if you're not prepared for it.
Yes. And you heard Drew Brees say it so clearly. As a teenager, he came to know Jesus. And then he was listing, here's the chaplains, here's the pastors that help build me up. And that goes beyond the sport, because their playing days end. If you're 40 years old, your professional career is probably over. I know some are extending. LeBron's an exception, Ronaldo's an exception, but it's a short career. And where I struggled with identity, because when I played in Africa, eventually I was sick overseas and it ended my career. I was fighting for my life for a year. And I was there in my parents' home, which I didn't expect to be, going from physician to physician to physician, and waiting in this restoration process and just thinking I didn't have a backup career. Who am I? Without soccer, without achievement, without health, without friends, like, who am I? And that's the deep identity question. And you can try to answer that in a lot of ways, but I say this: if your ultimate identity or your ultimate hope is in something you can lose, that's not the best choice. I mean, you can lose money, you can lose a job, you can lose some health, you can lose some friends. So our deepest identity, and I had to make that shift, because before that it was performance-based, and it was, what am I doing? And who you are is not what you do. There's a difference. And the identity shift for me was now grace-based. I'll never, never stop being a child of God. And we're daughters or sons of God. Security, I know Jesus has forgiven my sins because of his death and resurrection. I'm going to heaven. I have eternal destiny that's secure. I mean, all those security points. I like to say security leads to authenticity. And the most authentic people are going to be most secure. And security is not found in something you achieve or something you can purchase or something on your resume. And we're built for love. We're built for relationship. And so God brings that in the deepest way. And then, of course, community. And all the studies show this. I mean, Harvard says, human flourishing, people who are active with their faith, there's a difference in generosity and purpose, and they're able to forgive, and they're not going to be as commonly going to bad behavior and drug addictions and all of that. And so I see it in Seattle. When people come to know Jesus, they step out of homelessness. They step out of addictions. We had prison ministry for 10 years. When they come to know Jesus, now they're coming out and they're ready to serve the community, and they're changed. They're different. And but it was true in the Ivy League for me, and success on the outside, empty on the inside. So there is the Jesus factor, whatever you want to call it, but it's our identity. And sports, I still am involved in sports. I didn't see that coming, but there's also a grieving, because when you're a professional athlete, there'll never be something just like that, where you're in the locker room with the team, you go out, the stadium's full.
The adrenaline rush.
all of it. And it's okay to grieve. You're not less spiritual if you grieve. And whether that's a person, a season of life that isn't going, and your career, it's hard. Even if you choose on your terms how you want to end, there's still a grieving there. But with that grieving, what I found is that when I played, it was all about keeping the ball to the back of the net, and it was all about saving goals. But now, years later, I can see that God had a plan, and it's what he wanted to do in terms of saving souls and reaching out to the community. And you see with a lot of athletes, they play on the field, but then they're active in their community. They're visiting kids who have cancer. They are serving human trafficking ministry. I mean, there's just so many ways to get involved in your community, live out your faith. And that's more meaningful than the stadium, that's electric. That's more meaningful long-term, but it's different. And through the World Cup, I mean, literally 4 years ago, we saw 480,000 people turn to Jesus. And this was online to follow him. And then this World Cup, we had 45,000 physical watch party kits. Wow. We had 70,000 churches involved. I mean, all the ministries I'm mentioning, like human trafficking, we had that in Seattle, prayer tables. I mean, there were so many people serving and just helping out with the World Cup. And that's what it looks like to God unites us. In soccer, sports teach us about life. They reveal character, but also sports are that open door to go love your neighbor and to live out your faith. And just think of all the community that happens around sports. So I love to talk about that intersection of sports and faith.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Still have the choosehope.org. That's still a way that people can learn more. It's been neat because the curiosity is there, and no one's trying to force something down your throat. It's an understanding, especially through the sports lens, which is where you and I operate for work a lot of the times, but just understanding that there's more to these athletes and to human beings than what they do, as you talk about. And I know the identity question, even for me, when I left my overnight job in February of 25, I did struggle with that, even though I've got faith and I've got family and I've got priorities that are beyond work. But yeah, what am I if I'm not a radio host? And so it was really good for me to remember you're a daughter of the King, right? You're a believer, you're a child of God. And I love that people are curious about it and that 2026, more people are speaking about it. So that's amazing. Choosehope.org, right? That's where people can find out more.
JustChooseHope.org.
JustChooseHope.org.
Yeah, JustChooseHope.org. And you'll see, we have interviews with like some of the soccer players we've been talking about, the most famous soccer players in the world. We have a podcast on there. And also, no one ever told me about faith when I was growing up. So JustChooseHope.org, we take like the 20 most common questions and then unpack it. And there's also Bible studies, because what I see is a lot of people at home don't know what to do. Like, what should I read? Or what's a prayer I can pray? Or, what's a topic that would be helpful? And we've got all those series laid out. It's all free. So yeah, you can go to that website as well.
Awesome. So before I let you go, I love the jersey that you're wearing there with the USA. I'm torn, Jesse, because I love the wave of excitement, the buzz, the energy around the World Cup, especially with our 250th birthday. That was a gift. I just lament that it ended too soon, right? And you and I we were on the same page. We're like, goal is semifinals. Let's go. So there are some amazing positives, but it only comes around another 4 years. So we've got to wait. This one was on our soil. Now, having had a month or so to process what we saw with the World Cup, what's your evaluation? Where is the U.S. men's national team now?
Amy, if we would have made it to the semifinals, you would have added the soccer ball to the all-in logo. I can see it there. There's a little space there. We would have had it happen. But the team fell short. That's all right. Yeah. We'll be back in 4 years. Soccer's on the rise. First of all, worldwide, it's number one. I mean, 6 billion people watch the World Cup, and that's not changing. There's no close second. But in terms of American development, there's more outstanding coaches. There's more youth participation. Our best players are now playing in the top leagues all around the world. The MLS continues to ascend. I mean, the quality of the play, it just keeps improving. That's important because the kids need to be able to see what does it look like in the highest level to play, and then inspired. And the best athletes too then say, I want to play soccer. I want to do that one day. All of those different factors and the experience. We've got a great coach, but he didn't have a lot of time. So they just re-signed him, having 4 years. You need stability. A lot of times, in a national team, a country will take players from 10 different clubs and they just haven't played together that much. It's hard to get that continuity, and you're looking for any edge because all the players are incredible on all the teams, but we know this. It's chemistry and it's connection and it's knowing each other and where you want the ball and who's going to make the run. And that takes time to develop. So having the same coach, consistency for another 4 years, that will help as well. But overall, we do need to still make changes. I mean, the pay to play, the youth sports is so expensive. I mean, we've got to make it more accessible to everyone. That's the beauty of soccer worldwide is that, I lived in Africa. You can literally take plastic bags, put them together, make a ball, and they have bare feet and it's rocky and they're out there playing all day long. So that love and passion for the sport, that's for soccer to keep growing in America. You're going to need to see in more garages, backyards, playgrounds. People are just playing for the love of game. Kids are playing all the time and then putting in that work. But our players now, we have an attacking style. We haven't had that as much in the years past. We've been strong defensively. So putting those two together going forward, we're about 15th in the world right now. We have all the resources. There's a new development complex, and it's national in Atlanta that's being built. It took a long time, but now that's being built. So facilities are there. There's a lot going the right direction. So,
okay.
Yeah, there you go. Those are all the factors I would highlight. And I think it's on the rise, but it took me a while. Basketball was my passion. And, soccer is a little bit of an acquired taste. And this is what I'd also say is when I played overseas, the people who are watching and even the nations, they know the intricacies, the details. They appreciate the skills. They see the runs off the ball. In America, because it's newer, it's been more like, did they score? Did they hit somebody? And it's like, oh, there's even more to the game than that. And now what I see is when people are watching, they're tuned in and they're appreciating it. And so it doesn't, strike you as obvious. You watch UFC and it's like, you don't have to know the sport. You see them like go all out and pound each other, and like it's visible, it's palpable. But soccer, there's a lot to it. It's learned as well. And I think I've never heard more people in the World Cup say, I loved watching. I'm going to watch more soccer. So I've never seen that before in our country. Something's happening there.
Before I let you go, you had a chance to go to a game there in Seattle as part of the World Cup. Like I said, the buzz and the energy is unlike anything that I feel like I've experienced in a long time. And that includes the NFL, but it was different because if you're part of the red, white, and blue, you're all in. And that's why we're not just talking about one franchise, one team. We're talking about a country here. What was it like to be there for that game in Seattle?
Amazing. There were 6 matches in Seattle. People said it felt like overseas. It felt like Europe.
Wow.
Soccer has a unique culture. There's a lot of singing and dancing and just celebrating in relationships. And so, last night we had Sounders and Chivas, and you could hear Sounders, Chivas, Sounders, Chivas, and back and forth in the stadium. But everyone's having a great time together. It brings nations together. I went to the match against Australia. It's like an all-day party. And from before the match to after the match, and people are just talking, getting to know each other. There's music, there's dancing, and soccer's unique like that. People came from other countries that didn't even go to the match, but they just wanted to be here for the environment. And that's another piece to it. I saw like Korean and Mexican fans, just having fun together at the World Cup. When I play pickup soccer, it's like, and league soccer and my league team, there's Ukraine and Russia, and they're on the same team. We're on the same team together. And it's like, you think about the tension in that part of the world, but soccer reunited. So the nations come together, 48 nations, and the different countries that would come, we would just be building relationships, getting to know people. Do you want free water? We had a prayer table. People would come up for prayer, and they would be coming from other countries. Senegal, here they're coming for Belgium. Here they are coming forward. And
Belgium.
It unites, and then we go deeper together, and it's just a pure joy. So Soccer has that momentum and that platform right now. But Amy, it reminds me that in heaven, there'll be people from every nation, tongue, and tribe. And that's what the Bible says. That's how it ends. And that's our home. And we're going to be with God. No more war, strife, hatred, violence, cancer. Like, it's all gone. And it won't be a soccer ball in the middle. It'll be Jesus. He's on the throne. And just finally, it's like, this is what it's meant to be. And with the World Cup, you get a little taste. Like, this is what it could be. This is what it could be. We come together. We love each other. We unite. We're all equal. We're all made in God's image. And then in heaven, again, thanks to Jesus, that will be forever, not just like 6 weeks in a summer. So
there might be a soccer ball or a basketball. You never know.
Yeah,
I'm open to that. There's got to be food. We know there's food. I believe there's animals. My favorite things. I don't know if there's coffee, but I feel like we could get pickup games on the streets of gold.
Definitely. We're going to be active. People think like, oh, heaven, you just sit around and there's going to be angels playing harps and we're bored all day. It's like, are you serious? What Bible are you reading? So it's going to be glorious, fulfilling. We're active. We're using our talents. Like, it's going to be, there won't be one bit of disappointment. No one's going to show up at heaven, because some people show up at sports games like, yeah, it wasn't as good as I thought. Our team didn't play well. No one's going to show up at heaven and say, God didn't think of this. He could have done that better. Like, I don't know who designed this place. Like, we're just going to be like, we get to be here forever. Like, this is the grace of God. So it's fun. Stadiums are just, when that passion and everyone coming together. And that's what the World Cup brought. I think it was kind of like a distraction, and not in a bad way, but just like, oh yeah, joy, hope, like fun, sports, like, and getting to know new people. And it's like treating each other kindly. And it was just that little reminder in that glimpse. And I think we need to step out of some ruts. I don't know how else to say it, but step out of selfishness, step out of materialism, step out of pride, step out of our egos, step out of so many things that are traps that we get stuck. And it's like, all right, love God, love your neighbor, serve each other, community. That was so strong. And the individual life, like, we're not self-sufficient. You talked about it. It just coming out of that cave of just. We drive home, we go into our garage, we close the garage door, we don't know our neighbors, it's just not a lot of community. It's like, no, there's something better. And when you start to get out in your community and make a difference and serve and be active, it's like, this is what life, Jesus came to bring abundant life, not just eternal, but abundant. And I think we're going to have to be counter-cultural in a lot of ways to kind of restore some of that hope and restore community and relationships. And it's going to be through love. And it's God is the source. The vertical and the horizontal go together. God downloads it. He gives it. He's generous. Receive it. You build up. You can't give what you don't have. So like, receive from God, and then don't be passive. God doesn't give us a spirit of timidity, but power, love, a sound mind. And I think it's a time we're going to need to be intentional, be part of the solution. We got enough complainers. We got enough people grumbling. We don't need more of that. Like, let's be grateful. Let's be part of the solution. And, it's got to be everyone. It can't just be 10% of people in church or 10% are doing community service. Like, we need everyone to step up.
Well, it's like a locker room, right? A locker room or a clubhouse where, chemistry can be hard to define, but you know it when you see it, when you feel it. Teams don't win unless everybody buys in and everybody's doing his or her part. And so I do love that sports are kind of a microcosm of what it means to be in a community. It's a team. Maybe it's more like a family. Even you've got your leaders, you've got your servers, you've got your vocal, members, you've got those who would rather be behind the scenes. It takes all kinds of different personalities or ethnicities or backgrounds, whether it's soccer, football, whether it's football de Americano. My friends in Cuba call it that. And so it is kind of a microcosm when you look at a locker room too.
That's it. There's a culture in the locker room. I say championships are won there first. If you like each other, it's a good team. If you love each other, it's a great team. And I still keep in touch with, I got together with a guy this week that we played soccer together at 7 years old. We haven't seen each other for years, and we just had such a great time. My college teammates, we're connecting this week as well. It's those relationships. Life's about relationships. And then everyone has a role. And you know this if you've been on a team, that every position's important, but also everyone on the bench, every practice. And how could we do it if only, let's say in churches, 10% are active? Well, if you couldn't use 90% of your body today, that wouldn't be a good thing. And if there was 90% unemployment in your city, that wouldn't be a good thing, right? For the city to have 90% unemployment. So we've got to step out of our comfort zone. I think in America, the idol is being comfortable, and I don't want to take those relationship risks. I'm afraid of failure, what ifs, all of that goes through our mind. And again, I think God gives us courage for breakthrough. There's a generation that literally dies in the wilderness after God provided deliverance, slavery, Egypt, and God says, go to the promised land, and they just go in circles because they lack faith. They lack instead of being grateful to God, they're grumbling, and they just get stuck. And Joshua and Caleb rise up and they say, we can do this. Like, we've seen us go in circles for a generation. Let's go forward. And God does something new, and there's breakthrough. And that's where I feel like we're at in a lot of areas as a picture. They go from Pharaoh's hand to the sand to the land, from the hand to the sand to the land. And I feel like we've gone from hand to sand, but like, I don't think like, let's go to the land. Like Joshua and Caleb, they have a different spirit. That's what we need right now.
I love it. So justchoosehope.org, or if you want to find Jesse online at Jesse J. Bradley, and there's lots of videos there. He does appearances all over the country. Really cool to talk to you face to face, which is fun. But also we've been able to develop this relationship just starting with media and talking about soccer, and it gives me great joy too as well. So I appreciate it, Jesse, especially some extra time today.
Right on. And Amy, you just picked up the video stuff, your show. It just looks like you've been doing this for years. So run with it. With it, Amy.
All right,
and it's fun talking about sports, life. I mean, I know both of us with adoption have a passion, and that's another topic for another day. But I think the friendships we build through sports, and then just keep running with that, because I think for so many people, especially youth sports, parents involve so much time and energy and travel, and they just wonder like, okay, is it good? Is it not good? And I'm like, well, if you connect with those other families, I know some people that bring food to practices, some of them have prayer and even Bible study, and some of them share their faith. Some of them, they're just serving, and, they're not rude to the referee, and, they're shining the light in that way. And wherever you are, God is with you. And so shine that light, and let sports just know that that's part of what God's doing, through the World Cup and through shows like this. Like, God is working through sports right now like we've never seen before. So let's do it together.
Yeah, and we will do this again. It's great to see you. Enjoy the rest of your week. It's Happy Almost Friday. That's how I brand the Thursday. And yeah, it's awesome. We'll talk again soon, of course.
Great. Keep up the good work, Amy. Thank you.
Jesse J. Bradley is where you can find him. And I think that might be the longest conversation we've ever had, which is nice. I appreciate the internet and YouTube for that. The fact that I don't necessarily have to stick to a clock, but we can have a conversation that not only do we enjoy, but a lot of great encouragement and hope and support. And you never know who's listening and at what point of your life you might be in where something that Jesse had to say really resonated. So I love the fact that he brings as much exuberance and joy, and sometimes even more energy than I do. So I never hang up or end a conversation with Jesse without feeling like I've been uplifted, which is terrific. He's really good at what he does. Like I said, he's all over the place. You'll see him on major news networks and the Sounders Chaplain, and justchoosehope.org is the website. Awesome. I'm just Amy, and I'm along for the ride, but I do appreciate his compliments because I'm getting adjusted to this camera thing. It's all in with me, Amy Lawrence, YouTube, and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download.
A jolt of joy is how I describe Jesse, and also a jolt of energy. So that was a lot of fun. And we've got a few comments that were popping up even during my conversation with Jesse Bradley. Of course, I wasn't looking at them at the time, but I am now. So this is kind of fun. Kirsten says she loved the interview with Jesse. That's amazing. Thanks so much for tuning in, Kirsten. And I always enjoy hearing from women who are watching the show, listening to the show. I think not only are there more women who are sports fans, so they're more interested in hearing about sports in a different format beyond just watching their favorite teams play games or their favorite sports. But it's been a lot of fun over the course of my career to recognize that whether it's sports radio, now this YouTube forum, that I've got more women who are apt to hang out with me and to connect with me because they love the fact that there's somebody else, another female who's as passionate about sports as they are. And also, I think relatable too, because I'm not just straight sports, of course. You all know that. And then saw this one too. I'm always taking the opportunities right now. We're taking the opportunities to make sure that we continue to spread the word about the show because it's new and we've got to help you figure out where to find it and let you know that it's every day. I'm getting questions daily about, hey, where can I find your new show? Or people who don't even know about it yet. So this is awesome. Another comment from a viewer who's found the show and has missed me on early morning radio. It's always nice to be missed. I don't miss early morning radio, but I am glad to be back in the daily arena. I will readily admit that. As much as I appreciate the opportunities at SiriusXM and even Houston radio, local radio, doing work for Westwood One as well, I missed being with you all and connecting for a set time every day. And we're creatures of habit, so we develop habits. So whatever it is that you want to watch or listen to the show on your favorite podcast platform, we are here. And that's the cool thing about the internet. I don't have to stick to a clock as much. So Jesse and I can be more long-winded and take more time. But also if I want to riff on a particular topic, so I'm a little bit late getting to our break. That's okay too. And the fact that with digital content, you can watch or listen whenever you want. I very rarely watch, well, I very rarely watch, but I very rarely listen to my favorite podcasts when they're airing live. I just like to have it when I'm running or driving and stuff like that. So it's neat to be able to have that digital on demand component. But we'll keep putting the word out there on our social media. And even if you are already connected with us on social media, Amy, stop touching the computer or the camera. That's a bad habit because it might make you seasick as I'm touching the screen or even hitting the desk. If I was pulling a Stephanie White, watch. Causes the camera to move. Don't do that. I don't need the camera to be tumbling down because I'm sitting in front of a cabinet that's doubling as my desk. And if the camera were to get dislodged, it would fall behind the cabinet. So it's not flush up against the wall. It would be down there between the curtain and the back of the cabinet. It's not like I could just reach down there with my one arm. I've got to get either someone to help me move it, the hubs, or I've got to get some kind of a pole or a yardstick, a broom handle it would just be a disaster. So let's not do that. Anyway, as we head up toward the top of the hour, I just kind of need to be able to take some of Jesse's energy and feel re-energized myself. And I appreciate his compliments too, though I think he's being far too generous. But it reminded me a little bit of this Jaden Daniels story. If you've heard it, you've read it, people are reacting to it, as you can imagine, with various amounts of sarcasm and criticism. In some cases, maybe people are supporting Jaden. Here's what I would say, especially coming out of the conversation with Jesse. The background being that Jaden Daniels and his family have told LSU that the school can no longer use his name, image, and likeness because there's been a letter the family sent to the LSU athletic director. And now that it's out there, hey, you were able to benefit off of my name, image, and likeness, Jaden's name, his photo, his video highlights. You were able to benefit off of those for quite a while, but we want you to cease and desist. But the other piece of this is that Jaden, and this is according to the statement from his family and his spokesperson, he's deeply disappointed and feels profoundly disrespected by LSU's decision to allow another player on the LSU roster, so current player, current Tiger, use the number 5. His number's not been retired. Okay, so it's still available. I guess technically would be the way to say it. It's still available. But the family statement goes on to say, we had every reason to believe that his number would remain a meaningful part of his LSU legacy and would be honored and protected in recognition of his extraordinary contributions to the university. Now, this is a cornerback. His name is DJ Pickett. I guess he wore a different number last year, and he's taking over number 5 now. And according to Lane Kiffin, who is now the new head coach, the jersey swap had to happen or took place because Pickett was promised that he would wear the number 5 or could use the number 5 after Jaden graduated, of course, that he could use the number 5 when he was recruited. So it was promised to DJ Pickett that he could wear the number 5 when he got to campus, and Lane Kiffin is trying to deliver on that promise. But take Pickett out of the equation because that is not the important part. Here's what I would say to Jaden, and this is with kindness. I'm not criticizing him. I understand that number is precious to him as he continues to wear it with the Washington Commanders. A lot of people hoping for him to stay healthy and take a huge step forward in his NFL career. It's not the number that makes the records. It's not the number that defines the legacy. Is it associated with it at LSU? Sure. But just because another guy, even a talented cornerback on the other side of the ball, is using number 5, it doesn't erase what you did at LSU. Jaden, no one's going to forget what you did at LSU, at least not right now. I mean, to be perfectly honest, we are all replaceable, especially in the sports arena. Eventually, someone else comes along behind us and does it better or does it with a little different skill set and makes people forget. As sports fans, we have recency bias and we're really sucked in by what's happening in the here and now, which is why a team that wins a Super Bowl or an NBA championship can have disgruntled fans say 7-8 months later, right? Because we're in the here and now. What have you done for me lately? So no matter if the number 5 was never used again, whether it was retired. So Joe Burrow, his number's not been used by LSU since he graduated and won the championship. That was 2019, right? So it was pre-COVID. It's not been used. So maybe Jaden's family is comparing the fact that, hey, Joe Burrow's legacy has been preserved. Why isn't mine? But even if that number never got used again, it doesn't mean that you at some point aren't going to see a quarterback come along behind, maybe win the Heisman, maybe win a championship. That's not what matters. And in light of the conversation with Jesse, I would say the impact that you had on people, the connection that you made with fans, the joy that you gave that LSU fan base and community, of course, your records, of course, your accomplishments, the trophies, they speak to those. It's just a number. And maybe having DJ Pickett out there wearing number 5 on the field reminds people, oh my gosh, Jaden Daniels used that number. He achieved great heights with the LSU Tigers. He took us to places that we'd not been before, kind of. I mean, he wrote his own narrative. Cool. Having his number 5 on another guy on the other side of the ball reminds me of Jaden Daniels. Can DJ Pickett live up to the expectations or at least the standard that was set by Jaden wearing number 5? It's just a number. It doesn't matter. That's not what defines you. And just having that conversation with Jesse Bradley about how your job doesn't define you, your accomplishments don't define you. It's here today and gone tomorrow. The blink of an eye. What really defines you is the husband that you are. And I don't know if Jaden's married, but the teammate, the leader that you are, what you do as a member of the Commanders and how you get people to follow you. I mean, those are the lasting impacts and legacies that we have. Is it awesome to win a trophy that says you're the best in college football? Sure. How many of the Heisman trophies have we seen? We've got a new one. Actually, we've got a couple of new Heisman Trophy winners since Jaden graduated. It's just a number. And whether LSU is allowed to use your name, your image, or likeness, okay, maybe be great for them in some promotional videos, some recruiting videos, or some, I don't know, some amazing videos that they throw up on the Jumbotron during a Saturday in Death Valley. I mean, that can be fun. It can get people really excited. But what people will most remember is not your stats, not your speech at the Heisman Trophy. They're not going to remember necessarily that you wore number 5. I'd be willing to bet there are a bunch of LSU fans out there, as much as they might love Jaden Daniels and remember how much they enjoyed watching him. Well, probably won't even notice that someone else is wearing number 5. The deep disrespect and disappointment to me feels like the priority is somewhere where it doesn't need to be. Again, it's just a number. And maybe in Jaden's mind or perspective, he should be the only one to wear that number. But I kind of feel like DJ Pickett can honor him by wearing that number. And yeah, it feels like much ado about nothing. Now, granted, I'm not Jaden Daniels. I'm not a Heisman Trophy winner, but being older, being in this business a long time, I do know someone else is going to come along and captivate LSU fans, whether they win another championship, whether they don't. And Jaden Daniels will remain firmly a part of their history, but he's not the here and now. So focus on what you're doing in the NFL where you're still wearing the number 5. And yeah, share that LSU legacy and family and community with the next guy to come along who's going to wear that number. So yeah, it feels like fussing over something that's really not important. But let's be honest, when we're younger, a lot of times we do tend to focus or fixate on these types of factors or these slights or disrespects or these offenses that later on down the road you realize that was not important at all. But maybe his family, as much as they want to protect his legacy too can kind of understand. That was a stage in his life. He did it well. He gave a lot of people joy. He's extremely talented, but what matters now is the 5 he's wearing with the Washington Commanders. Yeah, just not important. From someone who's been covering sports for 30 years, almost 30 years, the number that you wear isn't important. You could, in fact, Zach and I could have a quiz, and I'm not great at sports trivia. I could tell you moments that I remember about particular athletes and my favorite sports events that I've ever covered in person. But if you tried to ask me, what did that number did that guy wear? What number does that guy wear? Or what number was she wearing? Yeah, you might remember when they're in the throes of their career and when they're out there in front of you every day on a TV screen or a YouTube video. But numbers don't stick with me. Accomplishments, achievements. Sometimes it's the way they carried themselves, their leadership. Gosh, the Hall of Fame speeches we just got. I'm not going to tell you that I can remember the number of every single one of those guys that stood up on that stage in Canton on Saturday, but I can remember their impact on their teams, whether they're champions, and of course, the connection that they made with fans and the joy that they gave fans. So I hope Jaden kind of finds that place and realizes the number, it's just a number. It's just a symbol. They sew it on new uniforms every single day. All right. So as we're wrapping up here on a Thursday, looking ahead to Friday, actually, we're going to head to Patriots training camp because they've had a lot of questions over the course of the last few months, but also a lot of expectation too about what they might do in the second year with Mike Vrabel. Now that a lot of his offseason controversy and headlines have petered out and died down in the distance. So we'll talk Patriots camp on Friday. It's also a Flower Friday. Now, I love flowers, and maybe I'll share some photos of my flowers that we've got planted outside, but also Flower is my dog. And I promised her, I'm sure she knows exactly what I'm saying. I promised her that we will allow her in the studio and she gets to be on the show. Our other dog is Daisy, so also a Flower. So bring your dog to work day. That's what it's going to be on a Flower Friday. One last thing before I let you go. Of course, you know where to find us on social media. If you don't, we're constantly reminding you, search for All In with Amy Lawrence, or you can find me on X at ALaw Radio, the Facebook page, After Hours with Amy Lawrence. I can't change that one, so that's got to stay just by virtue of the check mark. But that's how you can find us on social. If you want to read more about me away from this room now or a microphone, well, I mentioned the blog on Ask Amy Anything, going back to our hump show. There it is, Amy Lawrence, Amy Lawrence, I don't even need to say it. It's on the screen. Amy Lawrence, that's me, pxp.com. And the most recent blog post I put up there is the one in which I celebrate our nation's 250th through the eyes of my hikers lens and just the places that I've seen over the past 10 years that have made me appreciate our country in a brand new way. So AmyLawrencePXP.com. Happy almost Friday. We'll catch up with you on a Flower Friday here on All In YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.